You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine Combat Veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for point of view.
How y'all doing out there tonight? Yes, it's me, Jessie. And yes, I went through the full intro and everything, even though I know by now you've all heard about the Manchester bombing. Why did I do such a thing? Well, because I have reached out to a number of people in that area of the world and asked them for their opinion. So I have even had contact with one of my friends, Josh Baldwin. For those of you who don't know, he is an author, soon to have his first book out. Yes, we've already recorded his Jesse's Coffee Shop. I've told him if he feels up to it, he's welcome to call in. He knows how to do so. All right, let's start at the top about the Manchester bombing. Now, I'm going to ask you to keep two things in mind here. One, this is a very fluid situation. Anything I say could be changed 5 minutes from now. All right? So that's thought one. I need you to keep that in mind. While I want to bring you the most up-to-date information I have on Manchester, I do not have a source on the ground. I've got people in the region. I've spoken with a couple of them. All right. Let's rewind and start at the top for those of you who are going, what happened? Okay. And I have a little bit of show prep, but I stopped all show prep to talk about Manchester. Okay? So we're going to be doing this on the fly together. This was a concert. This was a concert geared towards teenagers and young adults. Most of the fans would have been teenage girls. Sorry about that, folks. According to the Greater Manchester Police, okay, there are 19 people confirmed dead, approximately 50 others injured. This is currently being treated as a terrorist incident. Now, there was I repeat, one explosion at the concert. There was a second controlled explosion after the fact of some abandoned clothing. Now, I have several people monitoring the news. Dave Brewer's in the other room. He's going to keep me updated. I don't normally have my phone making any kind of noise while I'm on the air. Tonight is the exception. Okay? Tonight is the exception. So if you hear my phone, it's probably telling me something. Alright? Alright. So you're going to have to bear with me. This is a very fluid situation. So, first of all, the bombing took place after the concert in the foyer. Okay? Now, here's the other thing about it. I will say, thankfully, the house lights were up, so that probably helped a bit. But when an explosion like that happens, there's dust, there's debris, there's rubble in the air. Unless you have an actual flashlight, you may still not be able to see your way out, even with the lights on, and who knows if the lights went out. The lights could have been taken out by shrapnel. They're reporting finding screws, nuts, and bolts and things on the ground. It is frequent for either suicide bombs or IEDs, improvised explosive devices, to have shrapnel implanted in them to cause more carnage. All right, let's continue. This was at a concert. No, it was not an adult-oriented concert. I haven't had time to do a whole lot of research on the artist. However, everything I have picked up has indicated that this was a concert geared towards teenage girls. Yes, the primary audience was teenage girls. Now, I have a couple of audio clips. They're not properly prepped. I was working on this from the minute I found out and was able to get loose of what I was doing at the time. Surprise, I'm not always sitting at my computer watching, waiting for the next thing to go boom. I drive myself crazy. However, I do, as soon as I can, get to my microphone and start getting what I can for everyone. Okay? So this was at a concert, either mostly geared towards there were hundreds of teenagers, young adults. Now, it was at the Ariana Grande concert. And the bomb was in the foyer. So, an explosion at a pop concert in the northern English city of Manchester late Monday night left at least 19 people dead, 50 others injured, according to the police. We've already said that, I know. Initial evidence at the scene suggests the attack may have been a suicide bombing. Now, this is not according to Manchester. This is according to two, not one, two U.S. security officials who are remaining anonymous because they agreed to discuss an ongoing investigation. British authorities who are meeting in emergency sessions across Manchester and London have not confirmed those reports. If it is confirmed, it will be the worst strike on British soil since 2005, when bombers killed 54 people on London trains and buses. Now, there were chaotic scenes of people screaming and running in the aftermath of the arena. The arena was packed with attendees and pink balloons that had fallen from the ceiling during the concert's final songs. Initially, concertgoers said they thought popping balloons had set off a panic, but witnesses later reported seeing the prone bodies of those who'd been wounded and killed, as well as others who were streaked with blood and were staggering away from the scene. The local hospital is dealing with mass casualties. Heavily armed police and emergency services swarmed the area. The local emergency response service advised the public to call for only life-threatening emergencies. Now, there were a number of parents outside the arena at this point waiting to pick up their children. Now, I've got one thing I'm going to stop and read right now. And for those of you in the Manchester arena area, if you cannot get a hold of your children, Holiday Inn Hotel has over 50 children. Please phone the Holiday Inn Manchester, UK, 0161 836 9600. If you can't get a hold of your children, the Holiday Inn in Manchester has over 50 unaccompanied minors. Please phone them. 0161-836-9600. Twitter is going ballistic. If you have a Twitter account with a following in Manchester, alright? If you have a Twitter account with a following in this area, even if you don't, one of your friends might, please. We are trying to use social media for good tonight, not to spread more political discord or argue and snipe. My account is retweeting a number of them at Jesse's POV. Alright? I have been retweeting pictures since I got online. Now, my friend Josh Baldwin is in a unique situation. Josh had 6 friends at the concert. 5 of his friends have been confirmed safe. The 6th one has not. He has promised to keep me updated throughout the show. Yes, updated throughout the show and beyond. He will, if he feels up to it, join us on air. But in any case, I have my recurring guest, Justin Kinney, joining us at the bottom of the hour. Now, just as I was coming on air, I found out that Daesh, ISIS, ISIL, whatever you want to call them, the evildoers, have taken credit. This doesn't make anybody feel any better. However, maybe it explains it. I just saw something new pop up. Yeah, new, not new. You know how all the news sources will start quoting each other. So there was terror, there was pandemonium, there were parents injured, there were children injured. There were parents and possibly children killed. What had happened? The last song of the concert finished. The pink balloons released at some point around the last song. The last song of the concert finished. House lights came up. There was a bomb in the foyer of this arena. Now, there was a suspicious package that was detonated a short time afterwards by the police in a controlled explosion. There have been reports of gunmen at a hospital. That is not true. There have been reports of other bombs around the city. To the best of my knowledge, that is also not true. This is, like I said, one of those very fluid, fluctuating situations. I am doing my best with what I have. I would play the statement from Daesh, but I don't want to give, I'm sorry, I don't give terrorists airtime. Suffice it to say, they said this was the first, not the last, and they did the Aloha granola bar, and all the usual, excuse me if you are Muslim, but all the usual front-loaded statements that are typical and consistent with one of these terrorist attacks. And I am calling it an out-and-out terrorist attack. I'm not saying presumed. I'm not saying anything else about it. This is a terrorist attack. Now, I'm going to try and cue this up. This is not prepped audio. If I've got the right thing.
I don't know. Grotesque. So this is not a
Okay, hang on.
Something bigger and scarier.
I think we know who did it.
I think we do.
I don't know which particular branch, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Hamas, Hezbollah, but President Trump said a word, Islamist. That means the people who believe that Islam should rule the world by force if necessary. It doesn't matter what particular branch they belong to. They don't wear badges. They don't wear uniforms. They kill children on purpose. They did so tonight, almost certainly, and we're going to have to rededicate ourselves, and hopefully the British will rededicate themselves toward looking at the people who do this, looking at that ideology.
All right, let me see if I can find the clip I want. That was not it. Give me just a moment. I'm looking for a little snippet from Shepard Smith, where he goes over what was true and what was not true out of the incidents that have been reported.
Oh, the first question, Tucker, was it terrorism?
Right.
It seems to be.
Not interested in that section either. I apologize. This was not queued up. I pulled it literally in the minutes.
Who were gravely wounded and killed.
Yeah, and for obvious and gruesome reasons, it's not always.
Hang on, I think we're getting close, folks, and I apologize. I did not catch the timestamp. I was doing 20 things at once, trying to arrange for a little better.
We're not affirming that because we don't know. Do you have any more on that?
We know that we have from 3 different sources that authorities believe it was a suicide bombing, and it's interesting to me that we got that report almost exactly 2.5 hours after the explosion was reported.
Right.
And to me, Tucker, that means people with more expertise who've come from farther away have come in and said, that's what it looks like to us. Whatever it was, it went off outside the ticket office near the front of this arena, and it happened as the first people had come out. When there's 5 minutes left in the show, people start streaming to the exits. 20,000 plus people in there trying to get a jump on the traffic. And it was those people, apparently, and parents of those who were still inside who were gravely wounded and killed.
Yeah, and for obvious and gruesome reasons, it's not.
All right, but anyway, there is not a hospital with an active shooter situation. The trains in Manchester were shut down almost immediately. Local hotels, private citizens, and others are attempting to help the stranded teenagers. All right, hang on. I'm looking to see if there's anything else. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. All right. This is, like I said, the best I can do with the breaking news I have. I'm going to make one more check. What is terrorism? Terrorism is designed to stop you from functioning the way you normally would. Terrorism, by definition, is to scare you. Ariana Grande, who is 23, is okay. The Manchester Arena, for the record, is the largest indoor arena in Europe and opened in 1995. So, British counterterrorism police have said they're making an average arrest every day in connection with suspected terrorism. In March, a British-born convert to Islam plowed a car into pedestrians on London's Westminster Bridge, killing 4 before stabbing to death a police officer who was on the grounds of Parliament. He was shot and killed at the scene. This explosion appears to have been a very harsh one. Some of the pictures are of people running, screaming, trying to use phones, trying to figure out what's going on. Josh Baldwin, my friend who's over there with friends at the concert, said that he had 6 friends at the concert, one of whom has not yet been heard. He is very anxious. He's anxious, he's nervous. He has that He's anxiously awaiting the news of his friends. He's worried. He's said on Twitter he can't go to sleep. He feels like it's his job to stay awake and retweet for everyone that is put out someone from Manchester that was at the concert that has not yet been heard from. And there's one picture that's going out that has one tweet that keeps going out. It's the account Pray for at Pray for MCR. It's a new account. It was only created a short while ago. It is a massive collage, for lack of a term here, of a number of the people that were at the concert that have not yet been heard from. Now, this is very tough and challenging information. This is tough to absorb, and it's tough to smile and move on. There are several of these collages. There's, out of the 25 photos. 6 have been marked found so far. So this is how serious this is. We're talking approximately 20,000 people all crammed into one space. We are talking about an explosion at a time when a lot of people would have started moving around the building. We are talking about a truly horrific incident. Now, I know I have a number of followers on Twitter and Facebook. Please, if you are on Twitter, go to @Jessie'sPOV. I have retweeted every one of the missing in Manchester pics I have found. And Josh has been really good about passing them along. Thank you, Josh. And I would not want to be in Josh's shoes tonight. Alright, we are going to take a brief commercial break while I see about getting you more up-to-date information. I will see you on the other side.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine Combat Veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
All right, thank y'all for hanging in there with me over that commercial break. And yes, your host needed that commercial break. Why? Well, my favorite recurring guest, Justin Kinney, has graciously joined me on practically no notice, I might add. The phone call went something like this, I believe, Justin. Hey, Justin, how soon can you join me on the air?
Yeah, that was about it.
Yeah, you've heard about the Manchester bombing. How soon can you join me? I think we're going to need a ISIS/-101 and a reminder. They want to scare you. They want to keep you from leading a normal life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's ultimately the goal of terrorism is terror. I mean, it's right there in the name.
Exactly. And I hate to say it, but Daesh/ISIS has it down to a perfected art. And they
have gotten quite good at it.
Yeah, and I don't like it. And they have claimed comment for it.
Yeah, as far as I know at the very least, there's been a lot of ISIS-related accounts that have been celebrating.
No, there's someone actually sent me a link to a video from Daesh, the usual flag routine in the background with all the Aloha granola bar routine, lions of this, claiming credit with a sign and a newspaper claiming credit.
Okay. I haven't seen that video yet, but
I will get you the link later, but yeah, It looks relatively authentic from what I can tell. Now, I'm no expert, folks, but I have been doing my best. Now, I did speak briefly, and I do mean briefly, with a friend of mine who lives in the area and had 6 friends at the concert. His name's Josh Baldwin. He's been on Coffee Shop a couple times with me, and he lives over in the UK. He's in his early 20s, and 6 of his friends were at the concert. 5 of them have been heard from. The 6th one has not. So you can imagine the anxiety he's feeling tonight.
Absolutely.
So, all right, just as a refresher, what other than trying to take over the world, what does Daesh want?
Well, I mean, taking over the world is putting it kind of very, very simply, but they are what you would consider a religious terrorist group, and in particular an apocalyptic group. So their goal, long-term goal anyway, is to bring about Armageddon, which they believe they're a key member in bringing about. From a religious standpoint, they're seeking that. They're also seeking a worldwide caliphate, which again would be kind of this idea of taking over the world, putting it under their control. And so they kind of have these dual motivations of religious Armageddon combined with worldwide caliphate.
Okay. So they want to bring about essentially the second coming of their prophet Muhammad, or the 13th Imam, or whatever it's called, right?
Right. Yeah. It wouldn't be the second coming so much as the 13th Imam that they're waiting on.
Okay, so they're waiting on the 13th Imam. Pardon me for not having my Terrorism 101 down tonight, Justin. I did not pull my cheat sheet out before we went on air. I was busy chasing Manchester around.
No problem.
So they want to... Now, how many imams have there been at present?
Well, they believe that Baghdadi is number 9. So they're still waiting on a few more.
And yet they think they can spur this on by blowing themselves up?
To put it simply, yes. They're hoping to eventually expand. It's all built into this ideology. They're going to expand for a little while, then the forces of Rome, which Rome in that context doesn't necessarily mean Italy. It could mean the West. It could mean the United States. But they believe the forces of Rome will beat them back. And essentially what's going to happen is actually Jesus, they'll believe, will help them usher in this Armageddon, and eventually their Messiah will save them.
Okay, now there was an interesting tie-in. Their magazine was originally titled Dabiq, because that's where they originally said, oh, this is where it's all going to happen. Now, I do have an unconfirmed, and I will repeat the word, unconfirmed report, that there has now been a report that there are 20 dead. This is an unconfirmed report. I've only seen it from one news source. So
it wouldn't surprise me if that number starts to go up, as that 50 who were injured, some of them may not survive that, unfortunately.
Now, for our listeners, Daesh or ISIS, personally I prefer to call them Daesh because they hate that Middle Eastern acronym, is Sunni or Shia?
Oh, I'm sorry, you broke up there. What was that?
Daesh, are they Sunni or Shia?
They're on the Sunni branch. So they're kind of off of Wahhabi, which is kind of another branch of Sunni, and then their version is kind of a twisted form of Wahhabi. Okay.
Now, do you think the timing of this attack had anything to do with President Trump's trip to Saudi Arabia?
It's certainly possible. The reports I've seen from ISIS supporters seem to indicate it has more to do with the UK being involved in airstrikes against them. At least that's what they're referencing.
Okay, see, I hadn't seen those. Thank you. That is news to my listeners.
There at least appears to be the framing from a few people. Again, I'm talking on Twitter, so take it as unconfirmed. But that's the only direct connection I've seen made specifically about these attacks.
Okay, so right now they're saying, now there were two anonymous, and I hate anonymous sources because they're kind of like opinions. Everyone's got one, and half of them, they all kind of stink one way or another. But there are two anonymous U.S. sources that say it was a suicide attack. And then I've also seen reports of screws, nuts, bolts, ball bearings being found on the ground in the foyer of this particular arena, which is where the bomb was detonated.
Mm-hmm.
What is the significance of the screws, bolts, ball bearings, that kind of thing?
Well, normally that indicates shrapnel, which is usually intentionally put around the bomb to cause a lot more damage. Most of the time, unless you're in the immediate vicinity of the bomb, the blast isn't actually what kills you. It's the shards that come flying off of it. Adding ball bearings and those type of things around it only increases the number of shards that goes flying when the explosion takes place. So it's a way to cause a lot more damage. And it would certainly imply a lot more thought behind this as well.
So it definitely implies to you terrorist attack for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really come up with a plausible explanation for a non-terrorist attack that's using shrapnel like that. So, and whether or not it's actually ISIS or if they're claiming responsibility, that could be something totally different.
Right.
But it would certainly indicate terrorism.
We could probably safely say it was a radical Islamist behind it.
Well, I haven't heard any reports of specific ideology, but that does seem to be the most likely based on the Twitter reports and ISIS taking responsibility and things like that. But I haven't seen any direct proof that it is that's the ideology that was at play.
Right, and I'd have to say I agree with that. So now I do have an update I want to read from the Greater Manchester Police. And this is particularly aimed at people who live in the UK, and I know I do have a few of you UK listeners. The emergency services are still working at the scene of the attack. Please, if you do not need to be in that area, don't be. All the trains have been shut down in that area. They were shut down almost immediately. So just understand that you aren't going to be able to easily get into that area or out. Now, that's why many people are trying to use social media for good. And I think,
yeah, absolutely.
We often hear that social media and other forms of internet communication are used to radicalize. Well, tonight, I'm encouraging my Twitter followers to help these families reconnect. So, let's try and use it for good tonight, not political discussions. Let's try and make Twitter about Manchester tonight, because that seems to be where most of the young people hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like almost any technology, it can be used for both evil and for good. And I'd love to see it be used for good in this case.
Right. Now, how do people how do the evildoers, I'm just going to lump them all into one group, like Dash, how do they use social media for evil? Not that we want to give a how-to manual, but they've already seemed to have their own, so...
Yeah, so I mean, groups like this have tried to use technology, every time something new comes out. ISIS in particular seems to be particularly skilled at it, and mostly what they're doing is using it for the radicalization process and recruitment. I mean, it's one thing, to be able to try to radicalize somebody in person, but when you can talk to them and send them videos and messages and things, when they're sitting on the comfort of their couch halfway around the world, it allows for much higher levels of access and speed of communication as well. It's so hard to shut down things like that when they happen, in mere seconds.
Right.
So it's, that those type of things, and exactly how ISIS has managed to be so successful is still a little bit of a mystery. There's a lot of people working on it, myself included, but they have somehow managed to master this skill of using social media to recruit. And in particular, as you mentioned just a few minutes ago, that social media really is a youth-driven platform, and those are the same people that terrorist groups tend to target. And we see groups getting younger and younger and targeting younger and younger recruits. And places like social media are, very ripe places for that type of recruitment.
Well, I will say that the Manchester police did say that they have been, I did see an article that said there's been about an arrest a day recently in the UK.
Really?
So,
wow.
In recent past relating to terrorism. And that was from a British newspaper. I do not recall which one. I have been doing this on the fly all hour because I was starting to prepare something else and then the bomb went off. So, but, yeah, I mean, this was a pop concert geared towards young teenagers. So, I'm guessing that they wanted to strike maximum fear and maximum terror in people's hearts by attacking the children. Because it was an Ariana Grande concert. And they'd release pink balloons at the end and all these other things. And the explosion went off thankfully, just after the lights went up. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If you were anywhere near that foyer, A, the lights may have been blown out by the shrapnel. B, there may have been enough dust and debris, even if you weren't in the foyer when it happened, that you may not have been able to see your way through the foyer. And C, without a flashlight, the light on your cell phone would not be sufficient to get you through dust from an explosion. At least that's my understanding.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense. I mean, obviously a lot of that depends on how much damage was done to the building as well.
Well, the building's still standing, but...
Sure, but then if you knock out, some of the plaster off a wall, that creates a lot more dust than if it, it didn't. So there's a lot of things that are kind of that would vary that might cause the amount of dust. But yeah, I mean, once it goes off, the chaos itself is enough to make it difficult to get through there. Much less, any sort of debris or dust clouds or dirt or anything that have been kicked up as well.
Right, not to mention 20,000 panic screaming concert goers.
Yeah, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if some of these injuries were caused more by the crowd than by the attack as well. Anytime you have that many people essentially stampeding, trying to get out of the exits, it can be pretty dangerous.
Right. I mean, there was a eyewitness report that I caught at the on a BBC channel that said that they saw shoes left behind and various other things abandoned as people just literally ran for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, now, just as a reminder, hotels, businesses, and the like in the area have opened their doors, and even some private homes are taking in these children that were supposed to take the train home. Okay? And so if you have not heard from your son or daughter, it is not the end of the world. They may have dropped their cell phone in the chaos. I mean, Justin, could you imagine trying to hang on to your cell phone with 20,000 people pushing against you to get to the same exit you're getting to?
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention, every phone line in that area has to be jammed, packed. And calls aren't going to go through much anyway.
Exactly. So if you have not heard from your son or daughter, it is not yet time to panic. Hotels, shops, all kinds of places have opened their doors to take in people that are essentially stranded in their area. Now, the police did there have been several reports. Two more things I want to bring up. There was a report of an active shooter at a local hospital. This is not, I repeat, not true. There was also reports of secondary devices found in the area. This was not true. The police conducted a controlled detonation of a parcel that was abandoned in the chaos. It was clothing, folks. It was clothing, not a bomb. Now, I've also seen reports that there was inadequate or no security. I've also seen reports of many other things. This is the largest indoor arena in this area. So I can imagine there was practical pandemonium. And the explosion was set off at what I'm sure was a popular meeting place, the box office.
Mm-hmm.
So
you also tend to be right near the exits where everybody is crowding out of right at that time.
Exactly. And the fact that the explosion occurred right towards the end of the concert, just as the lights came up, that would tend to indicate that whatever was going, that they were after definitely specific targets. This was an Ariana Grande concert. It was not a symphony orchestra. Your crowds at those two events tend to be drastically different. The symphony tends to have an older, more established crowd. Attacking children, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, isn't that usually scare people even more than attacking a bunch of older people, for lack of a term?
Yeah, I imagine it would. I mean, it's certainly more despicable in my opinion. I mean, and this singer Ariana Grande, I think she's like 22 or 23 herself, 23. So she's young, and she tends to appeal to the young teens and to the mid-teen crowd in particular.
Right. So this would have been a very young crowd. Like I said, it's one of those situations right now. It's very fluid. I believe we've done the best we can. And in my opinion, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Justin, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, people that attack innocent people at functions like this, such as concert goers, are just plain evil. These were innocent people going about their everyday lives. Would you agree with
that? I'd agree with that. It's terrible. I said that. Yeah, I mean, Grande too, in particular, she she's probably seen as a symbol of the West, of materialism, these type of things, that terrorists frequently rail against.
Right.
Combine that with having very young fans, and the fear level for something like that is huge. And frankly, targeting concerts like this, sporting events, those are pretty big deals, because those are places people generally feel safe. Right. They're places where you go to have fun. You go to relax, enjoy yourself for an evening, forget about the rest of the world.
Kind of like
and targeting that, it takes away that level of comfort.
Kind of like the shooting in Paris. At the attacks in Paris a while back at the concert.
Yes, yeah, it'd be very similar. You target a place where people feel comfortable and are trying to escape, the everyday life, and you create even more fear in those places, and you start to take away where people feel safe. At least that's the idea. I mean, thankfully, humans tend to have great ability to bounce back from these sorts of things and to support one another. But at least that's the goal, is to try to make these once safe, comfortable places feel very unsafe.
If you could give advice to people who are worried about going about their daily lives tomorrow, what would you say, Justin?
You mean people not obviously affected by this, but the average everyday person?
The average person. I mean, obviously, anybody who's in Manchester is going to be a little shook up for a little while.
Sure. And there's nothing you can really say in those cases. But for average everyday people, you and me, we're the best thing you can do is keep living your life. But at the same time, we need to be vigilant. I mean, we need to be alert. Be able to pay attention to our surroundings. I mean, that's something that I know I'm always, keeping an eye out for things, not in like a paranoid sense, but just being aware of what's around me. But at the same time, you can't let things like this stop you from living your life.
The old see something, say something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not about being paranoid and seeing ghosts everywhere and stuff like that. But at a certain point, a lot of these things can be, if not stopped, at least slowed down or minimized by being alert and just being aware of what's around you, who's around you. But like I said, at the same time, like the goal of these attacks is to make you stop living your life, to make you afraid to do things, and ultimately so that they can gain whatever concessions they want, whatever their demands are, by making you too afraid to do anything else. And if we can continue to live our lives, that sends a message, at least, that they can't scare us, and that's in that way. And on top of that, too, I mean, as I mentioned a minute ago, humans have this great capability of supporting one another. I mean, I think these symbols of support, for Manchester, while they're just symbols and they don't do anything material to help, those type of things really show how humanity can bind together when bad things happen, and we don't let it get to us.
All right. Well, I thank you very much for that. Now, if people want to follow you on social media, you want to give out your social media information, because we are out of time.
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to find me on social media, Twitter, I have an account there. It's Justin R_Kinney. And I also have a Facebook for my authoring. I've mentioned that here before. I write books. I have one out right now, and you can find me on there at J. Robert Kinney on Facebook.
All right, and as always, folks, you can follow me on Twitter at Jesse's POV. You can shoot me an email at the station, Jesse's POV at KLRNRadio.com. And I'm going to thank you very much for coming on the air with me on absolutely no notice tonight, Justin. You should have expected that call coming in. Come on.
Well, I wish I didn't have to, but things like this come up sometimes.
Well, I thank you very much. And we got to make our way out of here because the Stafford Voice, I believe, is coming up hot on my heels.